Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your AMAC Weekly News. Never in my life did I think I would personally witness an attempted coup in the United States of America. Yet here we are, and the attempt is real at the hands of the Democratic Party. Open impeachment hearings began this week, which means all Americans get to see this ridiculous and never-ending impeachment obsession by liberals on live TV. Now, Democrats won't give up, and now they aren't even letting conservatives in Congress bring forward their own witnesses. The only witnesses we will see will be the ones that Adam Schiff and the liberal cronies in Congress want us to see. If you don't think this was a witch hunt from the beginning, look at one day back in 2018, where the media mentioned impeachment 222 times in just that one day alone, and it had nothing to do with Ukraine or any of what they're trying to impeach the president over right now. Take a look.
The President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, is named a co-conspirator of a federal crime.
Is that grounds for impeachment?
Do you think impeachment is more likely at this point?
Impeachment.
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 Does this move the needle at all?
More confidence to move forward on impeachment.
The president facing impeachment.
Impeachment will be on the Democrats' agenda.
The I word, impeachment.
The I word, impeachment.
The I word, impeachment.
The I word.
The I word and impeachment.
Let's take a look at the process of impeachment. Impeachment, 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 to impeach or impeachment. Impeachment, he would have been impeached. All of it bringing impeachment back to the forefront.
Talking about impeachment.
Impeachment talk.
Impeachment is a more viable option.
Do you think it would be appropriate to immediately begin impeachment proceedings?
Impeachment.
Impeachable.
Impeachment, 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 impeachment.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Now, while everyone's focused on impeachment, there's a story that the media is not covering. Liberals cannot stand their 2020 presidential candidates, and they're so desperate to find one they actually like that now there's more Democrats actually jumping into the race. One of those is literally a billionaire. That's right, the Democratic Party is so desperate to find a candidate that they actually like, they're now looking for billionaires to get in the race. Now, the last time I checked, all of the Democratic candidates hated billionaires and wanted to bankrupt them. We'll have more on that story that the media is not talking about in just a moment. But first, please share this video with your friends right now as we fight back against the liberal media. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. Public impeachment hearings began this week. This is something the liberals have been calling for since the moment Donald Trump was elected back in 2016. It's not just members of the media that have been calling for the impeachment of the president, but also many members of Congress on the left have been doing it over and over and over again. Now, Oversight Committee Republicans posted this incredible montage on their Twitter account to show what the liberals have really been focused on in Congress. Take a look.
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
I support impeaching this president.
I will fight every day until he is impeached.
It may well produce impeachment.
We're going to go in there, we're going to impeach them all.
We begin impeachment proceedings now.
We are introducing articles of impeachment to remove President Trump from office.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the president.
You guys are going to be in a situation where you would have to possibly take a vote on the impeachment of Donald Trump. Would you vote yes or no?
I would vote yes.
I would vote to impeach.
Impeach 45. Impeach 45. Impeach 45.
Now, Democrats are going to try to sell you that this impeachment inquiry is somehow fair. We all know the truth. It is not fair at all. These hearings began in a way that was pretty much insane. One, there was no basis for impeachment. There was no whistleblower testimony allowed. There was no testimony that was going to be allowed by Hunter Biden, and no ability for the President of the United States of America to have counsel in the hearing. And every single power was granted to one person, liberal Democrat Adam Schiff. Now, there are also four very inconvenient facts for the liberal impeachment fantasy. The call transcript that they are obsessed with actually shows zero link between aid to Ukraine and political investigations. The aid to Ukraine was released without any new investigations. We all know that. Ukraine did not know the aid was withheld during the call that they claimed. And both Donald Trump and Zelensky have both said that there was zero pressure put on anyone. Now, if you want to really look at what unfair and bias looks like, just take a look at the House Intelligence Committee. All 13 Democrats have already said on the record that they already support impeachment before they've even had these public hearings. These Democrats also control all subpoena power and have the total ability to deny Republicans of any witnesses that they want to call. And they've been pushing for impeachment of the president literally for years on a multitude of other things. They just needed a new reason to do it. Now, to make matters worse, they also outnumber Republicans by 4. Now, the numbers are even more eye-opening in the House Judiciary Committee that's been led by liberal Jerry Nadler. In that committee, there are 24 liberals and only 17 conservatives. Now, this is the most partisan process we've ever seen, and it's only going to get worse. The first open hearing clearly showed the hearing and impeachment are a complete ruse. The best moment? When U.S. diplomat to Ukraine, William Taylor, basically forgot the lines of the testimony the liberals made him memorize. Watch this from Fox News.
Did you, in fact, call him?
I did.
And what did he say to you?
He said that I was wrong about President Trump's intent, that there was no quid pro quo.
But did he say anything after that? Did he describe to you, I believe you said, I'll refresh your memory, that
Thank you.
He mentioned something in your opening statement. You said that he said that everything, I believe, and you had that in quotes, was actually contingent on the initiation of these investigations.
In front of the entire country, Taylor was literally told what to say as part of his testimony. Now, the president continues to be open and transparent and is even talking about releasing a second transcript of another call with the Ukrainian president. Now, we must make our voices heard now more than ever because our founding fathers made sure that we, the people, have the power and not the government. Yet, Democrats seem to believe that your voice should be silenced in Washington. Even though these impeachment hearings are finally out in the public, it's not going to mean anything at all if conservatives cannot even bring up their own witnesses. The proof is this process has been partisan and unfair from the very moment it began. Not only did liberals force GOP members of Congress to provide a list of witnesses, but the House Intelligence Committee chairman, Adam Schiff, said, I can decide if they are able to come forward or not, meaning that the minority is completely in control. Now, these rules were part of a 8-page resolution that liberals agreed to on the remainder of the impeachment inquiry as it went public. Now, 2 of the witnesses the GOP and the Trump administration wanted to testify are from the Ukrainian phone call. One of them is the whistleblower. And guess what? Democrats said no. The second witness that the president and GOP members of Congress wanted to be called was none other than Hunter Biden, which was at the center of this call. Guess what? Before anyone really had a chance to even read the GOP witness list, Adam Schiff had already said no. In fact, Schiff said no to all but 3 on the total list from the GOP. Now, why did he approve those 3? It's a great question. Because Adam Schiff had already brought those people forward in his own private impeachment hearings that you as an American citizen were not allowed to see happen. Now, while Schiff and the rest of the Libs in Congress are determined to put down all of the GOP witnesses, they have been bringing up their own witnesses left and right. President Trump spoke to the press about this, calling Schiff corrupt and saying he hadn't even heard of most of the witnesses that Schiff was even bringing in front of the committee. Watch this from the president, which aired on Fox News.
Every one of those people testified absolutely fine for me. They've gone out and they've gone out of their way to find the people that hate Donald Trump, President Trump, the most. They put them up there. Everybody's been absolutely fine. And they have, I don't even know most of these people. Many of these people I've never even heard of. So what Crooked Schiff is doing, he's a corrupt politician. What this corrupt politician does, he looks all over, tries to find people that don't like Trump, and he puts them up. He's a corrupt politician, and that includes Nancy Pelosi. She's a corrupt politician.
Now, the liberals are so determined in Congress to keep the whistleblower anonymous that even though nowhere in the whistleblower statute does it list that the whistleblower shall remain unknown, Representative Jim Jordan called Representative Adam Schiff out during the first open hearing on this hypocrisy. Take a look.
You are the only member who knows who that individual is, and your staff is the only staff of any member of Congress who's had a chance to talk with that individual. We would like that opportunity. When might that happen in this proceeding today?
First, as the gentleman knows, that's a false statement. I do not know the identity of the whistleblower, and I'm determined to make sure that identity is protected. But as I said to Mr. Conaway, you'll have an opportunity after the witnesses testify to make a motion to subpoena any witness and compel a vote.
Now, to be very clear, we all know, and the media knows, that Adam Schiff knows who the whistleblower is. Without him knowing who the whistleblower is, we wouldn't be having this impeachment inquiry right now. The fact is, he, or at least his staff, or all of the above, literally met with the whistleblower. And Jordan was right to call him out on his lies, and everybody knows that he's lying. Now, the media, of course, will not cover this. Now, not only did Schiff not allow for members of the GOP to bring forward their own witnesses, but he also interrupted his own witnesses during GOP questioning and told those witnesses that they did not have to answer certain questions. Watch this as he literally makes up his own rules during the first open hearing, and this clip on Fox.
You certainly can appreciate that President Trump was very concerned that some elements of the Ukrainian establishment were not in favor of him, did not support him, and were out to get him.
If I go to, and I'll allow the question, but are you asking?
Really? Are you, parliamentary inquiry? Are you seriously interrupting our time here?
I will allow the question. I won't dock this from the time. I just want to be clear, Ambassador. If you're able to verify the things that counsel has asked you in the prerequisite of the question, that's fine. Otherwise, in questions from the majority or the minority that may assume facts not in evidence before you, you should be cautioned about that.
Now, let's be very clear what you just watched. You watched a member of Congress threatening or at least trying to intimidate witnesses against answering the questions that were legitimately being asked from them by members of the committee who happen to be conservative. If you want to know what a coup looks like, this is what it looks like. Liberals cannot stand this president. They can't stand his foreign policy. Now, at the end of the day, what we need to remember is this. Many Americans voted in the election in 2016, and now liberals are trying to overthrow the will of the people. When it comes to Donald Trump, nearly 63 million Americans voted for him. 306 electoral votes went to Donald Trump, and that's what gave him the highest office in the land. Now, as they battle this out in Congress, there are men and women elected by the people who are actually fighting against the American people that put them in office, all because they're obsessed with taking down Donald Trump. Now, it's time to let our voices be heard and clearly say to Washington that we will not stand for this anymore. So stand with AMAC as we fight for you in D.C. and across the country, and we help fight and stand for the President of the United States of America. There's a really big story that's happening right now within the Democratic Party that no one in the media wants to touch. It's the fact that Democrats seem to not like any of their candidates, and many of them are very concerned about Elizabeth Warren. She's the one that is really scaring them the most. Now, as the first primaries and caucuses for the 2020 presidential election loom closer, liberals are literally shaking in their boots over how far left many in their party seem to be leaning. Now, Elizabeth Warren is literally proposing spending $20 to $30 trillion in new spending on her Medicare for All plan alone. That would total $52 trillion in spending for Medicare for all. Now, there's a problem. Our national debt is currently at $23 trillion and growing. And the U.S. is expected to take in only about $7.17 trillion in the fiscal year 2020. Bernie Sanders, by the way, has a very similar plan. And he was even called out by a veteran at a Q&A in Iowa. Watch this clip from that moment that aired on Fox News.
I don't want to see anybody in this room have to wait like that because of a single-payer system, okay, which the VA is.
No, actually, the VA is not. The VA is a socialized...
It's a government-run program.
That's right. It's a government-run program, which is different than a single-payer system.
Who's paying the bill?
Well, in the case of the VA, the government is paying 100% of the bill. I'm the former chairman of the Committee on Veterans Affairs, so I know a little bit about the issue.
Well, and there's a failure there.
Everybody knows what a failure the government-run VA system actually is. And it is, yes, a single-payer system, and the government's in charge of it. But now liberals want to do that on a national scale, which makes no sense at all. Now, the party is truly falling apart so badly that billionaire and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg saying, hey, maybe I should jump into the race. This should be a clear sign that liberals are in deep trouble. Now, to be very clear, Bloomberg literally embodies everything that the extreme left hates about Wall Street. This is a guy who also tried to turn New York City into an any state by regulating everything from the soft drinks that you could buy to styrofoam. This is also a guy that switched back and forth between political parties so many times that I'm not sure anyone actually knows where he stands on the issues. I'll give you a great example. The left is going to attack him for issues like stop and frisk, or his doubts about the Me Too movement, and his opposition to breaking up the banks. Now, he's also a guy that will be hated by the right. He's a guy that started a radical anti-Second Amendment group whose main objective was to, quote, promote confiscation of guns. So basically, no one on the left or the right is going to really like him. Now, before he'd even entered the race, Bernie Sanders was already attacking him for his wealth. Watch this from a Sanders rally that aired on Fox News.
There are folks that are trying to completely purchase our political system, running as Republicans and now tossing in their hats as Democrats in the field as well. But what we're here to say is that in a democracy, it shouldn't matter how much money you have.
So tonight, you say to Michael Bloomberg and other billionaires, sorry, you ain't gonna buy this election.
So the bottom line is this. Liberals are falling apart and no one's covering this issue. They cannot pick a candidate because they are so worried about how radical their own party has actually become. Now, at the same time, they can't get past this insane impeachment inquiry either. This is why we need to stick together now more than ever. And that's why AMAC continues to fight so hard for you and your rights as Americans every day. Now, that's it for this edition of your AMAC Weekly News. Quick reminder, if you haven't joined AMAC or renewed your AMAC membership, do it right now so you can stand with other conservatives as we fight against the extreme liberals in Washington. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back next week for our next episode.